Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, going great. Having a good day. Having some lovely conversations about good people.
Uh-huh. Skeptic.
I mean, I don't know if you were listening in at all or if you just.
I tuned in a little bit once you were streaming. It was like it's Sunday. It's been a weekend. This is some drama. I'm just gonna get ready to talk about Transformers.
Well, Transformers are interesting for many reasons.
They are. They are
Um,
more than meets the eye.
I was honestly really looking forward to seeing a Transformers trailer when I went and saw Guardians yesterday, and they didn't show it. I thought they would show it.
Oh no.
Did anybody else see the Transformers
I
trailer?
saw it when I saw it. I saw the Transformers trailer when I saw Guardians 3.
Um, yeah. By the way, Happy Mother's Day to the mothers, the
Yep.
people who have mothered or play any kind of maternal type role, or you know what? If you're a parent, I hope you're doing well. I hope that you are loved, and I hope that that many prosperous things occur for you. There we go.
Mm-hmm. And if you're not a mother, not a parent, that's rad too.
Oh, I thought you were gonna be like, "Fuck off."
No. No.
It's not your day, bitch. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, man,
Anywho.
that was whew. I
Yeah,
was
feeling a little better.
a little bit.
That's
Bit.
good.
I still feel there's some stuff to address, but that's another time, I guess. I'm honestly one of the things that makes me feel a lot better is the community in Bob's chat. By and large, other than the people that were obviously there to defend their person, no matter what, was just seeing right through the bullshit, and like, that's rewarding, encouraging that we've developed audiences like that. Um, yeah.
Yeah. It's good to have good people in your audience. Not to talk them up too much. Don't want to overinflate their ego.
Yeah, we
I
don't want
see
you guys
you out
getting a
there.
big head. And you know what? That counts. Like, it counts.
It does.
You know, um, if you love and nurture something, and you it depends on you. You're a parent. I mean, if you want to start like weighing which one is better or more important or something, that's silly. But if you loving and nurturing a living thing is a fucking it is a virtue. It is a
It's a
virtuous
virtue,
endeavor.
and it's work, right? And it's not easy. It doesn't matter if you're a parent, a step parent, and an older sibling who's got to take care of the little ones because we live in a capitalist hellscape, or for reasons that have nothing to do with being in a capitalist hellscape.
Archmage. Oh man, grading it on a curve now. Yes, this. I mean, nope. Wow, where have you been? Because yes, this is Morgan of actual Phantom Chat fame, but more so and more recently, the last several months, of Force Adversity podcast fame.
Yep.
You want to power rank comic book mothers? Are there any good mothers in Transformers?
I mean, sorta. There's some parenting that goes on.
Okay. Sorry, did you want to address this at all?
Yeah, hi.
Recognition.
Thank you for shouting me out. Yeah, I'm here. I am the co-host of Force Adversity. It means Game Master, Miguel. Because that's my primary hobby is tabletop role-playing games. And I have been a GM of various games over the last 20 years now.
I would say Wanda is, generally a good parent. She's gone through her issues, but I don't think, mental health challenges should define a parent.
Yeah, I think she is, all over the scale, but like mostly good.
Well, I mean, look, let's put it this way. Creating children out of thin air, it's kind of something that no other mother's done.
Right.
So in that way, she's kind of started off on a strong footing.
Right.
Anyway.
So yeah, originally we were going to talk about the comics code today and how gay comics are now, but
they're hella gay.
They're hella gay.
I mean, not really. They could be gayer and
Right.
and stuff. Like, yeah, we will do that. It's just been 3 weeks, 4 weeks in a row now. It seems like where we have stuff coming up. And look, I'll be honest, right here, okay. It's a difficult day for me, regardless of the fact that it just happened to be the day that somebody decided that they want to take their shot at the initiative, and did a very piss poor job. It's Mother's Day, which is always difficult for me as someone who lost my mother, a lot of years ago. It's just, it's not like I'm fucking breaking down weeping or anything, but there's a noticeable absence whenever I see other people celebrating something like that, and I'm just like, oh man,
Yeah.
So I was already distracted from that, and then this shit popped up, and
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then some assholes. So when we were going to talk about the comics code and gay comics, I actually want to talk about Transformers comics because they're hella gay.
That's what I'm hearing.
But also, since then, some assholes on some various platforms have pushed a moral panic about Transformers grooming kids. And I figured we're forced adversity. We like to talk about when people force some adversity, and
there's none better.
You're right. We're right. Like on day 3 of this, perfect. Let's talk shop. And then that way you can take a break from the day. Well, I mean that was the hope, and then shit happens. But
you know what? I'm grateful. I'm grateful for Nerdetta, and I'm pretty sure I think she might be a mother too. So like, what is she doing on Sunday?
Yeah, go spend time. Unless I don't want to. I don't know her. I don't know anything about her. But is she one of those mothers whose kids don't talk to her anymore for her stances on things?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Like, I don't know anything about her. Yeah, they're teaching the kids tolerance again. Mm-hmm.
How
exactly.
Dare we? It used to. Look, I've gotten more, look, if somebody's going to come at me because I have a dead mother.
Right.
Okay, man, you're kind of giving away what you're about and what kind of piece of shit you are. Whatever. If you mean like they're going to find out something about me or something and like use it against me, like more than that, with that information, I don't know how they would do that or anything. So, yeah. Where's the cisformers at? Right.
That's just called cis humans, and they can be in their mono form over there. They're welcome to it. But no one wants to play with toys of just like, well, okay, it's Hot Wheels, right? If you want to play with your cisformers, go crack open a Hot Wheels blister, and there's your cisformer. We did it. We solved cisformers.
Yeah, like how many robot toys are there that just don't transform, right?
As a Gundam aficionado, a lot.
By the way, I did want to debut this thing real quick. I have very bad timing on this stuff, and we've already kind of started doing the Force Diversity, but like I'm proud of this, so let's check it out. All right, that's it.
That's pretty.
I know, it's nice.
It's very pretty.
It's a little peek at new branding we're working on.
I also love using the Krakoan alphabet.
Yeah, I felt like, why not?
Yeah.
Mainly just because I found where I can download the font, and so of course I'm going to use it.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
All right, back to
back to Transformers.
So, I guess we should start with the bad, and then we'll get into the good, and then back to the bad, and then we'll finish on the good. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. So, if you haven't noticed, for those of you who might not have noticed the last couple of years, the hot new conservative panic is the trans panic.
What's that? A trans what now?
A trans panic. They are very panicked about the transes.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
This actually started back in in 2014, 2015, when the Supreme Court said, nope, gay marriage is absolutely allowed everywhere. That's it. So they lost their war against gay marriage, and they needed a new queer-phobic thing to do. And this is when we saw bathroom bills begin to take off. And this has they've taken their shot a few times, and they've reworked the formula on how to have these panics, and they have come up with a slurry of things to throw out. Because, and then after Roe versus Wade, they really needed something, because for half a century, they've been pushing against abortion access and bodily autonomy. And they finally got what they wanted. And it turns out that didn't help anybody. And so even the people that were anti-abortion, especially on the religious right, are like, oh, great, what are you going to do for us now? Because it was never going to end there. That was a wedge issue. And if you look at the history of that, how they used it to recruit voters, it was a wedge issue. They don't really care on the political end. They care to motivate voters, and the religious right will always want something else because they're assholes that way. And so now this is their new thing. They've settled on their big media blitz to portray trans people as all sorts of awful things. I'm not going to get into it. But one part that I think is important to today's conversation is that there is a media blitz attacking any form of positive representation of trans people and just tearing it apart and making it the worst thing. Dane and the initiative guys talk about it pretty regularly on how they will, the whole forced diversity thing and the diversity hire, and that they made that character trans and what have you. Chandler, goddamn it. I award you 1 point. Spend it wisely.
That's fucking gold. That's actually going to make me have to download the Transformers fucking font so I can make the image of that.
So I wanted to touch on something we've used before in our conversations about these panics and these manufactured controversies, and that's the 4 eyes. I thought
the 4 eyes.
The 4 eyes.
That sounds like something somebody came up with just like impulsively and irrationally.
Yeah.
And inorganically.
It was impulsive. It was definitely organic because it just sort of happened when we were jamming one night.
True.
But I would say it's very rational and definitely not ignorant. So the first one is ignorant, and all the anti-trans shit is ignorant. Trans panic relies on ignoring what is a vast medical consensus across multiple fields of healthcare study and sociology. So to nitpick and nutpick and find outliers and people you can pay to say what you want, you need to do all that to create a controversy in terms of subject matter experts, because otherwise you got nothing, right? It is just your feels versus the actual data that goes back longer than any of these people have cared about trans issues. Second is impulsive. And I could go into this a bunch, but for levity's sake, anytime someone says, think of the children, there's a sizable chance that they're just trying to get an impulsive reaction from passersby. They're not really making an argument. They're just trying to go, oh yeah, this person's going to hurt the kids, so that someone who doesn't know anything about the issue is more likely to side with them. It's irrational, because if we're going to put aside some of the religious issues, we don't have to touch that. So I'm not going to. Trans folks make up, depending on who you ask, about 1% of the population. And they have the nearest to nothing you can be in terms of political representation. They have no power to do anything. And they don't really threaten anybody. They don't have the power to threaten anybody as far as any mass action goes. An individual trans person could do something harmful, but that's not some sort of society warping attack. And lastly, it's inorganic. This is just part of the right-wing panic cycle. You know, it's the same reason whenever there's an election coming up, suddenly there's a migrant caravan making its way to the border. It's the same thing. That's it. It's the same motivated reasoning, the same bad faith arguments, just retooled a little bit, with a sprinkling of sexism and plausible deniability put in for good measure. So those are our 4 eyes. We did it. Yay!
What were they again?
They are ignorant, impulsive, irrational, and inorganic.
Okay. So making a helpful graphic here.
Ooh, helpful graphics.
Yeah.
Any questions so far?
Why are people like this?
Dane, if I knew that.
Not that question. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. How long do we have?
Why people dumb?
Why people dumb? Yeah, Nope's got it. It's fear. At the end of the day, I don't think you're too wrong for a lot of them. So now we get to talk about robots. Because if there's like the things in my heart, number 1 is my spouse. Number 2 is role-playing games. Number 3 is fucking robots. I love me robots. Robots rock.
Robots or fucking robots? Are you like into fucking... What were you saying here?
I'm into robots, and there are fucking robots who are fine. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, we have a joke between my spouse and I about the greatest of all body pillows, the Major Kusanagi body pillow. And Major Kusanagi is a cyborg character from Ghost in the Shell. So even fucking robots are cool.
True.
But
I mean, you know, if you use like a vibrator, you're technically kind of fucking a robot.
Right, you're fucking a robot. And enjoy. This is the power of science.
Mm-hmm.
So, I love me some robots. And I have for longer than I can remember. And among those series is Transformers. WD-40 equals lube. God damn it. I just did not look at chat. I just got to like pay attention to my outline.
Welcome to my world.
This is why you're the professional and I'm the co-host.
Professional. No, I fuck up. I do that all the time. I'm constantly derailing streams looking at chat.
Robots. Yeah. All right. So the newest Transformers series is called Earthspark. It came out last year. And it's great. It even before they introduced the character that will be the subject of the recent controversy, it's a good show. Coming off of a couple of Netflix series that were really grimdark and kind of they use non-union voice acting, and you can tell the story's pretty like it's supposed to be more gritty, but it sort of drags on too long and is just sort of bleak and boring after a while. This new show is more kid-friendly, but also has a new twist on the age-old, millions of years old war between the Autobots and the Decepticons, and that's that the war is over. Optimus Prime and Megatron have put it aside, and they are now working together for peace.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. And this gets into one of the show's main themes, which is the importance of working to change for the better. Along with the importance of your family, both your, blood family and also your found family, as well as being honest with yourself and others, and how not being honest with yourself and others will just cause lots of trouble. And that brings us to my precious little cinnamon bot, Nightshade, who was introduced about halfway into the first season, the second half of which just started airing on Paramount Plus, and I recommend you all check it out. I'm a few episodes in. And they are the first intentionally non-binary character in a Transformers cartoon. There is another character from another, I can't remember which show it is, but basically there was one of the Seekers, like they look like Starscream, but they're all just recolors of Starscream. One of those, they kept animating more feminine or more masculine, and they kept going back and forth. And so when the producers were asked at a convention, like, are they supposed to be male or female? They were just like, man, shrug, they're gender fluid. So that was the first, representation of a trans or gender fluid person or non-binary person in Transformers. But this is the first time they really went and did it on purpose. And Nightshade is an adorable science nerd who, like, their dad lends them a book because they, like, don't want to go outside too much. So they're reading, like, a fantasy sci-fi book in their little lab. They're adorable. I love them. And that makes it really suck that some awful people are trying to make them this bludgeon, because it is just this. It's a pretty wholesome show at the end of the day.
So it's not actually like trying to teach kids to be that or something? Because
no, Nightshade doesn't really tell anyone to be like them. They're just like, hi, I'm Nightshade. My pronouns are they, them.
Whoa, pronouns.
Yeah, they've got pronouns.
People using pronouns are like, that's really bad,
Well, and this, that's, what they say on those channels, that pronouns are bad.
What? That's a pronoun, though.
That's a pronoun, right? Yeah.
They use pronouns all the time. All right, sorry. I'm not I'm not in the right mindset to be satirical that way. Sorry.
That's fine, man. It's A-okay. So they are okay. So now I need to step aside.
Mm-hmm.
Nightshade, though the first animated LGBTQ representation in Transformers, is by no means the first Transformers character to be a member of one of those groups.
Interesting.
The most famous examples within the Transformers fandom come from a pair of comic series, Transformers More Than Meets the Eye, and its sequel series, Transformers Lost Light. Not only do these series feature multiple gay relationships, poly relationships, transgender characters, it also, to me, is one of the best representations of asexual relationships that are still romantic, because the Transformers don't fuck. They are not a fucking people.
That sounds miserable. How can people be happy or robots not fucking?
They love each other very much. In one of the comics, yes, Arcee is transgender, and that is a story I'm not going to get into because it's kind of icky.
Just a little problematic with it.
Yeah. Yes, very problematic.
Well, see, I don't want to derail what you're saying, but I do have questions about this in general. Like, okay. So, and then, of course, this is coming from a cis person.
Yeah.
So, if we keep in mind, I'm very, very stupid.
Okay.
So what I operate based on what I see, analysis that I see from like trans people, which I've watched a lot of it, and so I feel like I understand when something can be problematic toward, watched it. I've also just talked to people like yourself and other friends.
Yeah.
I feel like I understand pretty well when things can be problematic narratively, like even if it's meant to be something positive, right? Representation wise, that it can still have. And I guess it's really, now I'm kind of answering my own question, but
okay, that's fine.
So like I've seen people say that the X-Men doesn't work as an allegory for, let's see, basically that doesn't work for an allegory for black people or something like that, or gay people, because a lot of gay people know that they're gay, well before their teenage years, and of course black people of color know they're people of color well before. And then with mutants, they don't develop their powers and know they're mutants until they become teenagers generally. So like my defense to that has always been like, yeah, of course any metaphor is narrative is going to break down over enough scrutiny.
Right.
Like if it was just a 1-to-1, it would just be a story about that thing instead of, but I've seen people take that stand pretty harshly against, mutants being that. And in that way, I feel like, I guess I'm kind of coming to that. At first I started thinking about it from that perspective. Like, well, wait,
sure.
Never mind. I don't even know what I'm saying, but I felt like there was some kind of problematic thing with Transformers being like representative of trans characters in some way. Like, is that not? You see what I'm saying?
I definitely see what you're saying. Is that, and I think that's why the RC story sort of has a.
Congratulations, man!
Wow,
yeah. It's fucking cool. I mean, good on you. I mean, I don't know, like you got a lot of catching up to, I imagine, but yeah.
Right.
We're really white. That's not the place to do it.
I am. Yeah, I am incredibly pale. So the issue with the RC story, I guess I'm going to go into it, is that she was a male bot, and a mad scientist made her a female bot against her will. And then at some point she becomes okay with that. And this was during the IDW run, but before the books I'm talking about.
Okay.
Where retcons were done to be like, actually no. So like in those earlier books, there were no female Transformers. They hadn't introduced Alita 1 or RC or Black Arachnia. And so once we got further into the line, they introduced female Transformers, starting with a actual brand new character, Windblade, who's very cool looking and very cool in the story she's in. But they sort of built their representation, kind of knowing that the RC story was kind of a mess and trying to like actively do better, right? They were like, this was not great. We should find a better way to tell these stories. And then they did that. And not that people haven't taken issues with some of these stories too. But I would say on the whole, they do a pretty good job with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just, was kind of curious. Yeah. I don't have a position on that or anything. I just like, it's always fascinating to me whenever I see someone kind of like dig down into a metaphor, a narrative metaphor like that so far that they get mad when they find the disconnect.
Right. At some point, the metaphor is not going to be 1-to-1 because that's how metaphors work.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. The Frankenstein narrative. What came to mind was 7 of 9 with the name thing, or with like accepting, because she goes like there's a subplot of this last season of Picard that she was like insisted on being called 7, and when the Captain Shaw wanted to call her Hansen, which is her human name, but like she wants to be 7 because that's all she's ever really known. Like she was
she's never been Annika. Yeah,
she doesn't really remember much from being little Annika Hansen. So yeah, it's I don't know. I think it really does kind of boil down to context and then just personal choice, right? Like, right. If we choose to define ourselves by something that's done to us, then that's our choice. It may not be something that it could be a way of owning that thing having happened, and it no longer controls you, type thing. Right. I don't know.
No, I see what you're saying. So they even play with it in some. Ooh, nice.
There it is. 4 eyes.
Yep, there they are.
So, anytime, just real quick. Sorry I had this late, but I don't know, try to show it more often. anytime somebody's panicking about something or saying, "Oh, have you heard about this?" Ask yourself if it's ignorant. Do they have all of the facts at hand? Are they? Is it impulsive? Have they just like seen something and gone, "Oh, that's terrible. I gotta yell about it." Is it irrational and that it doesn't, adhere to fucking reality? And is it inorganic? Whenever it becomes a panic, like we're talking about now, you got Fox News acting like a transformer is gonna make kids trans or something, as if that is even a bad thing anyway. But like it's not gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But what will probably happen is some kid will see it on Nickelodeon or on Paramount Plus and go, "Hey, I don't feel like I'm a boy or a girl. There's another thing I can be." And then if their parent's an asshole, then they'll find the Fox News clip saying, "Oh, Transformers is ruining your kids," and then they'll blame Transformers.
Oh shit! I just saw this pic that you sent me like 20 minutes ago.
Yep, it actually slots in right now. Perfect timing for seeing it. Pop that bad boy up.
Then we did this on purpose.
We did.
It's not just a lucky coincidence.
So yeah, one of the things they do is, in like holo communications with other creatures, they will use a more human-looking form, and this is Cyclonus, who is a dude. But
that's a woman.
His hollow matter form is a woman, because that's what he wants to be, and it's an internal projection of how you see yourself. So like, Megatron, for instance, I'll pull up Megatron's, just for comparison.
I wish it'd be funny if he was like a I don't know, dainty little girl or something.
There is one Whirl who is like a characters whose hands have been ripped off and replaced with like claws, and they're just like incredibly violent, and theirs is like a little girl with an eye patch.
It does kind of look like Bayonetta.
Yeah, a little bit. Copy image. So this is, I am dropping this in the same chat, Dane. Hit it. So if when Megatron thinks of himself as a human in this comic and he projects into a human world using this holomatter system, Transformers Prime is amazing. Blackwing Gaming, you are absolutely right. It's my spouse's favorite Transformers show too. But he gets mad at himself because he projects himself with a cane. And he has to like will the cane away from his projection.
What?
Yep.
Like he just accidentally does that?
Yeah, he like the cane appears, and if you can see on it, it has the little Decepticon emblem, and he is not a Decepticon at this time, and so like it's just this crutch of his past that holds him up and slows him down, and he has to make it disappear because it bothers him.
And also possibly maybe a seed for a future story. Huh?
Something, yeah. It's funny how you mentioned that, but yeah, it's a really good comic, and they do a lot of this exploratory stuff with identity and your past.
Narratively, I can see this being really cool just because you're able to, like there's a disconnect with robots, right? To a degree. Like you can't fully connect with a robot the way you can with human characters. So like, yeah, it's cool in that way.
Yeah. It's a really good comic series. I would recommend checking it out. It might be hard to find now with IDW, sadly, filing for bankruptcy. But it is independently of the gender stuff. It is a very good comic book.
This sells me. Just this concept on its own. Yeah.
So now let's talk about the Transformers agenda, aka they're putting chemicals in the Energon and trying to turn our bots gay. I thought of that on the fly, and I'm very proud of myself.
I mean, I'm proud of you. Like, I would have thought that you had that planned, honestly.
I thought of that when I was writing the outline. I'm like, I gotta say that. All right, so like I mentioned before, the assholes, this is how you really know that they're just looking for something to bitch about, right? They don't care. They're not invested in Transformers in any way. It was they needed something to fill their clickbait to get their ad revenue. Because Earthspark, this new animated series, came out last year. Now, here in the year of our Dark Lord of the Sith, 2023, they have finally discovered Nightshade, the non-binary transformer. So
I remember talking about it quite a while ago.
Yeah. I was thrilled. And it sucks that it's been tainted by these assholes, but I'm still enjoying the show because they can go fuck themselves.
Well, maybe they just have stuff going on that they want to distract from or something, like having to pay nearly $1 billion.
Yeah, well, so as far as I can tell, this started late last week, I believe, like Friday. With Libs of TikTok sharing a picture of Nightshade, and then the shit began to roll downhill.
Oh, you mean Libs of TikTok? You mean the genesis of the entire GOP's platform these days?
Yeah, basically they're and noted terrorist propagandist.
Yeah, stochastic terrorist.
Fan of hospital bombings. Yep, and it shoves it's shoving pronouns down kids' throat.
Lies.
Yeah, with corrosive lies. The lies being robots can talk. I don't know what and Elon Musk is on about it now. And I think the only reason Elon Musk about it is because he's jealous. Because in Transformers, the self-driving cars don't explode randomly on accident. Or he hasn't worked that out yet. His self-driving cars still just randomly catch fire.
What clip is that, Matt?
I'm guessing it's the clip from the end of the season break where they introduce Nightshade. And it's like they use their pronouns. Because it's a little ham-fisted, but kind of in a kid show way, right? Like everything is kind of on the nose.
Yeah, I'm surprised that things weren't more nuanced like they usually are in kids' cartoons.
Right, exactly. It is more nuanced than SpongeBob. I actually hate SpongeBob, so I'm bigoted against sentient sea life, I guess.
Well, Matt, I'm really glad that you moved on about it and you didn't become non-binary after seeing that.
You weren't. It wasn't shoved down your throat, and your brain wasn't corroded with our lies.
Yeah. See, this is what I mean. Sorry to go back to the thing earlier, but like when you're defending, you're saying people shouldn't be allowed in certain spaces if they say certain things. When the things they're saying is denying the existence of human beings who simply are and they exist, and like to say it's a corrosive lie. That's saying what? And being realistic, they're talking about non-binary people here, right?
Right.
And yeah, it just pisses me off, man. And that's what I don't allow in my community. It's allowed in so many places. If you feel like you need to be, anti non-binary people or whatever, I can't stop you from going all over the internet and doing it. But I can stop you doing it in my fucking community.
And I appreciate that. Because it's hard.
Peddle liberal ideology.
Yeah, the liberal ideology of what if you are your own person. That's it. That's what they're upset about. As for Blackwing Gaming's question, how can you tell a Transformer gender? That is
you check and see if they have truck nuts.
Yeah, that's the thing is they don't have they don't have truck nuts. I mean, they could be female and have truck nuts because their alt mode has truck nuts, right? Like that's got nothing to do with anything.
True.
They reproduce asexually. I'm gonna drop another image in chat because I think they can even change their gender.
Yeah,
They can
exactly.
realize, no,
That's how you learn someone's gender.
Yep,
That is
they
the
tell
way
you.
to learn a gender from anyone. And you know, if you're worried about what sexual bits they have, then you're a fucking weirdo.
Then you're a weirdo. Yes. If you are worried about what is in someone's pants and you're not about to like
Be in there doing stuff with it.
be in there doing
Consensually?
consenting things with them,
Yeah.
stop. You're weird. You're very weird.
So that actually brings me to a self-promotion I'm going to do about a video that I did like a year ago almost.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you guys saw it.
I did. Big fan.
It's called let me pull it up here. Got to go back a year in time. You know, the whole thing. Robots prove that gender is a social construct. Robots and AI. And so, like, if you ever have trouble understanding, like, you may be like not against, trans people and non-binary people, but you still may struggle to fully grasp it. That's kind of understandable to a degree because we're so ingrained with this shit. That you know, I mean, and that just means you're a good person because you may not understand something, but then not turning around and going, "Oh, I fucking hate it," and they're bad and Satan and all this stuff. Then you know what? You're better than so many people. But yeah, that video I think does an okay job kind of laying out the case because
yeah,
we call R2D2, C3PO, we call them him.
Yep.
And we just do that. We don't even think about it. We always have. Now, what if what if in an alternate reality, alternate timeline, C3PO had a woman's voice, female voice? We would just call him a she, probably. That's really the only distinguishing thing.
Yeah.
Why is that? You know, because it's a social construct. It's what we decide it to be.
And I think that's one of the reasons that why Transformers works as a metaphor for some of this stuff is because it's necessarily a non-physical thing. It's not a sexual thing at all. It's completely divorced from that because they don't have sex.
Yeah, it's not like they'd be fucking.
Yeah, they ain't be fucking, but they do be snuggling.
I mean, think of Vision. Vision essentially chose his gender.
Yeah.
He created himself in a way, like he basically willed himself into being to a degree, and he chose this form. And you can see that he can make a cape. He can change what clothes. So presumably, if he wanted some fucking nice boobs, and you know, he could do that. And
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that it is all. Yeah. Oh, the. You know, and especially when you're talking about a robot, like what is wrong with they, them as pronouns? Because my car, well, okay, we named the car Soundwave, so that the car is actually he. My dad's truck is just an it or a they because it is not a person. It's and the reason that our car is named Soundwave is because my spouse and I both like Transformers.
And people name their cars. They call them she.
Yeah.
A lot. You call them he. I mean, we boats. They get she all the time.
Yeah.
And like, why?
Why?
You know?
Yeah.
Because it's just it's an idea of a thing, not a physical thing.
Right. So yeah. They and a lot of some of the fandom menace suspects, the usual suspects, have gotten on this train. Before we get to that, I think one of the reasons that Fox News had to jump on it, is because they don't want their audience to know that they paid out almost $1 billion for being lying liars who lie, but also because they fired their most famous host, the man with the permanent deer in headlights look, Tucker Carlson. So they needed something to talk about. And that's what they settled on. And I think it then feeds the usual suspects. And
it's distraction porn.
Right. And Dane, you follow the Fandom Menace guys more than I do. And since you've been following them, how much have they talked about Transformers before this weekend?
I cannot think of. I mean, I'm sure they have at some point in some way, but I can't think of it.
It's certainly not a major thing they've covered.
No.
Yeah. So they don't really, you know, they're going to talk like they always do, like this is a big deal and ruining their childhood and yada da 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 da.
It's funny how they're fans of everything.
Everything, yeah.
Only whenever something comes up that they can, you know.
Right.
But then suddenly, like, I'm such a big fan.
Such a big fan of this thing I have never talked about before and clearly know nothing about. And I think this works to a degree because I think in the pop culture zeitgeist, for the most part, nobody has cared about Transformers since the Michael Bay movies because honestly, they were pretty cringy. I think the Bumblebee movie from a few years ago is actually wonderful.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I fucking love that movie.
And you know what? I think there's a lot of positive in the first Transformers movie.
Yeah, I would say the first one is actually pretty good. I would say the one with the weird like semi PDF thing where like the adult guy is dating the guy's like 16-year-old daughter or whatever, like,
and there's like a 5-minute scene dedicated to him justifying it.
Yeah, I think that's the last time like any mainstream pop culture paid attention to Transformers. And it's fucking embarrassing.
That guy, by the way, that was the only thing I'd known him from. But there's a show on Amazon called fucking Peripheral, I think. With Chloe Grace Moretz and then him, and it's really fucking good for one season so far. But it's pretty good. Check it out. Anyway.
So, and I think that's, you know, sort of gets to why, in a way, Transformers is kind of perfect for forcing adversity here, is because you have the last time anyone cared about it was Transformers 4, really. It's sort of the last time it piqued media interest. And with that comes it not being in the mainstream attention. So it's easy to make up shit about it and have people just believe you. Whereas if someone is more conservative leaning and they've been watching Transformers this whole time, they're just going to go like, wait a minute, you're full of shit. Because you're full of shit. And I think like we saw with the, what the fuck is it? The Kevin Smith animated series, He-Man. With He-Man, it's the same sort of like 80s toyotic property that the nostalgic culture warriors love so much, with a bonus dash of the Transformers movies and their like jingoistic post 9/11 rah military thing they've got going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I was just I was reading the exchange that you guys were talking about apparently in that clip, and I don't even think it's that cringy.
Which one is that?
I guess so. Where Nightshade, I guess somebody calls Nightshade he or something, and someone says Nightshade's pronouns are they them.
Yep.
And then Nightshade says he or she just doesn't fit who I am.
Right.
And that's like basically that would be a conversation in real life. And then the third character goes apologize and said my apologies. Please switch their piece, which is kind of just an ideal exchange in that scenario.
Yeah, that is an exchange that I have had in real life.
Did you feel like like anything they hated you because they didn't know that or something like that? Or,
no, I mean it's a little awkward, but like life can be awkward. It's like, so to give a cis metaphor for the trans experience. If you've ever mistaken a woman for a man for whatever reason, you're on the phone, what have you, and you go, sir, and they go, it's miss, and it's a cis woman. You just like saw them at a weird angle, and you thought they were a dude or vice versa. It's kind of embarrassing and awkward. It's the same sort of thing at the end of the day, right? You saw something, you made an assumption, and you were wrong. Okay, we can move on, right? Like it's a little weird, a little uncomfortable, but you correct it and you move on. So
I'm just reading more about like what fucking Laura Ingraham said, and so she weighed in saying that the show is inappropriately shoving liberal ideologies down our kids' throats. And here's a quote: We already knew that because the show, we already knew that because the show is shoving these inane pronouns down the throats of 7-year-olds. Pronouns are inane now, okay?
Right.
But then I kind of understand where she's coming from, I guess, in this next part, because she says, I mean, we're lucky to even get them to spell the regular pronouns and get those straights. Okay, your kids are imbeciles then.
Yeah, your kids are stupid. What did you do?
You have a 7-year-old that can't spell he and she?
Right. Or they.
What? Or they? I mean, they is a regular pronoun, by the way.
It is. It absolutely is.
People use it all the time.
That's one of those things that I've had discussions with some family members who are like, how am I supposed to use they for someone? And it's like, you do it all the time and you don't even know it. If someone leaves behind their pen and you see it and you saw them, you're not sure who left it. You go, whose pen is it? And someone goes, oh, it's their pen. They just walked out, right? That's a perfectly normal thing to say, just in normal conversation, and you never thought about it.
The only reason, but let me say this though, argue with you. The only reason you say that about somebody that you don't know who they are is because you don't know their gender. Wait, fuck, that's an argument in favor.
Yeah, turns out.
Okay, I see what I did there to myself.
You do, yeah, huh? Weird.
I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna be muted for a minute, but go on.
So chat. Robots are cool, right? Validate me. No, I actually think there's a lot of Transformers shows and movies that are pretty mid. I think the first Transformers movie was good. I think Bumblebee was good. I think some of the other ones are okay. I saw someone mention Transformers 3 earlier, and there's a good movie in Transformers 3. The problem is that it's so much human shit at the beginning, and I would like to see Peter Cullen Bot and Leonard Nimoy Bot hash it out much earlier in that movie. Yeah, Chandler, the they and them are pronouns in the dictionary, and the singular they is used for centuries in the English language. Some people have tried to force she or he over the years, but it's never really stuck as far as grammar goes, because it's weird and awkward. Yeah, Jeffrey, I'm with you there. I'm cautiously optimistic, but yeah, Beast Wars to begin with is kind of a weird trip. I love it, but it's weird. And trying to bring that in, I know when they tried to bring that in with the Netflix shows, it did not land at all. So I'm yeah. Oh, Beast Wars is rad. It's weird though. Like, I rewatched it a few years ago, and that plot's wild. It goes places. Time loops on top of time loops. Beast Machines was I did not like Beast Machines though. You know what? I will say that, not a great sequel. I didn't like the look of it as much. I didn't like the story. If you have not seen the original Transformers movie, the one from the 80s, you should. It's great. I fucking love it. I am resisting the urge to start singing The Touch because my throat is sore. But every time someone mentions it, I just want to sing. Even though it's the role that killed Orson Welles. The last thing he did was play a robot, and it killed him. Playing the robot devil. It's spherical. You're must resist. as far as recommending Transformer shows, I would say Prime is probably the best of the Transformers animated shows by a long shot. It's pretty freaking good. If you like Transformers and like anime, the Brave series of animes were actually based on Transformers, a Transformers show that was never made because of some studio shenanigans. And so it's very Transformers-like. The designs are very similar, but they go in different places with it. As far as Darth Ninja's questions, in the Transformers the movie, I like Hot Rod and Rodimus. I love him more in the More Than Meets the Eye comic, where he's kind of a dork. Like, I love him to death, but he's a big fucking dork. And Transformers Animated was a show that grew on me. When I first saw the art style, I'm like, I don't know about this, guys. But I think I watched it on, like, it was just on in the background somewhere, like, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is actually good. What the hell? It was More Than Meets the Eye. Transformers Energon. That was the most Transformers show ever. It definitely was a show. The what? There's a what now, Archmage? There's a what? Hold on. I am a Trekkie. I don't actually know who his voice actor is. I gotta look at this this Transformers Star Trek the Animated Series crossover. I'm sorry, what? Star Trek versus Transformers is a 5-issue. How? Literally, I was reading Transformers comics when this came out. How did I miss this? I know what I'm doing Tuesday. Huh. Thanks, Archmage. And I will try and answer your question, Chandler, because I don't actually know. I actually don't like The Breakfast Club. It's one of those movies that, like, everyone said you had to watch and it was amazing, and then I finally watched it and I'm like, this is a movie. What's that? Nope. Does Judd Nelson voice? I'm glad I'm not the only one, Lucifer. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Yeah, holy cow. Judd Nelson did voice Rodimus Prime in Transformers the movie, yeah. just fuck. Transformers versus Resident Evil. Do we need Flawless Victory the movie? I don't know that like how does Resident Evil have that fight? Yeah, Lucifer, I've definitely struggled with that over the years. People like talk about it with such high praise, and I'm like, okay, I'm glad you enjoy it. That's sort of my default response to when someone likes something I just don't care about is I'm glad you enjoy it, because I genuinely want people to enjoy things, but like, I don't. John Hughes movies in general just irk me. I think they're overrated. I don't think there's one of his movies that stands out as the Transformers virus. a Mortal Kombat crossover makes more sense because like Mortal Kombat's so fucking wild anyways, right? Like, and you have the cyborg ninjas and all the wild shit. The Mortal Kombat DC crossover game was better than it had any right to be. As someone who played a decent bit of Marvel vs. Capcom was like, there's no way this will be as good. Mortal Kombat is nowhere near as good as Marvel vs. Capcom or Street Fighter, and yeah, it's actually pretty good. I hate that movie. I hate that movie. I really hate that movie. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is fine. I feel like Transformers versus Hellraiser would just be the Dark Universe story from the comics, which is like what if we did some like weird old god shit and undead shit in Transformers. Same, Chandler. The prequel trilogy is fine. It exists. I'm glad people like it. I like my OG Star Wars. I like my Rogue One. Event Horizon, but with robots. That's just called 40K. Yeah, Event Horizon with robots is, it's just 40K. All right, now you guys are fucking with me. Yeah, the Beast Wars ones, the early 2000s CG, even the Beast Machines designs weren't nearly as interesting as the Beast Wars designs. I think there's something about the simplicity of the Beast Wars designs early on, and they get more advanced and weird as it goes on, and there's sort of a progression to it that works. And then some of the other CG stuff just sort of starts at Gonzo and then gets weirder. And then I punch my clock that was a Christmas present because I'm a dork like that. The CG in Transformers Prime really holds up well. I feel like the Raptors, yes, Dinobot is a samurai and a champion. And that was the only character they didn't do dirty in the Netflix series. Was they didn't do Dinobot dirty. They did everyone else dirty. Megatron and Beast Wars. The Beast Wars Megatron and Beast Wars is fucking rad, and his voice actor is amazing. And then when he shows up in the Netflix series, he's just a simp for Gen 1 Megatron and is just kind of a clown. And I'm like, you have done one of the best Megatron such a disservice with this. I was so sad. I'm just like, what? Why? Yeah, the John Carpenter's The Thing versus. I feel like again that's a flawless victory thing. Yeah, I should get Dane to show it. I gotta find David Kane, the voice actor of Megatron in Beast Wars. Just like A Night Before Christmas. In the Megatron voice. David K. Megatron Christmas. All right. Unfortunately, I can't play things for you. Do I have a favorite Transformers character? Cyclonus. And then Soundwave. Yeah, the Steve Blum Starscream. Also, Steve Blum does Starscream in Earthspark, and Steve Blum's sound or Starscream is fantastic. Absolutely fucking kills it. Everyone kills it in Prime. Yeah, I love Cyclonus's design. I like the character in the IDW stuff. He's a cool villain in the G1 stuff back in the day. Soundwave Superior, what do you got to say? I love the fucking cassette thing. My favorite cassette is Ravage, because I'm a basic bitch that way. Get me my Uggs and my my pumpkin spice latte. That is a good question, Jeffrey. Yes. Yeah, Buttons. He's one of the two that gets eaten up by what's it called? Unicron, and gets like reformatted along with Megatron into Galvatron. I like the Cyclonus from the G1 and from the IDW comics, and I like almost every Soundwave. They don't miss when it comes to my boy Soundwave. Okay, I would watch Kurt Russell in Escape from Cybertron, directed by John Carpenter. I would watch that tonight. I would end the stream right now with Dane gone, and I would go do that.
I wouldn't blame you.
Like, fuck yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, yeah, it could even be just like Escape from LA was pretty much just Escape from New York all over again.
Right, exactly. And just do that, but with Transformers. Fuck yeah, I'd watch that. Welcome back, Dane. We missed you. We were talking about robots while you were gone. Oh, Dane's gone again. He's muted.
I'm here. I'm just also doing other things.
Sure. All right. While you're doing other things, can you play this for our fine audience? That way I can take a coffee break. When he gets to it. Yeah, Escape from Cybertron would work really well. That would be great. Have a good night, Light Griffin. Yeah, include Solid Snake into it. Why not? Yeah. Transformers versus Star Fox. I feel like that's just Star Fox. Like, because the planes transform in Star Fox, don't they? It's been 1,000 years since I've played Star Fox. I know my buddy Colin would kill me for that because he fucking loves Star Fox. Attack on Titan versus Transformers. All right, here's another hot Morgan take. I don't like Attack on Titan. Spoilers for it. We were watching it for family anime night. My brother or sister and I will get together and watch anime every couple of months. And my brother was like, "Oh, you got to watch this." And the first chunk of it's pretty good. A little slow as they're training and stuff. But what lost me is in the female Titan arc, when they first see her, and she looks exactly like the girl in the squad who's gone missing, and no one pays attention to where she went, and she looks exactly like her. And I'm like, this is the dumbest fucking shit, and the show just loses me immediately, and I could never get back into it. Yes, Jeffrey, I would watch that show, I would play that game, and I would buy the merch. And I don't even like Metal Gear that much. Like, I like it, but it's just it's one of those games that I missed because I never had a PlayStation. I didn't have a PlayStation 2 until like the end of the PS2's life cycle. I never had a PS3. I I was poor. Fast and Fear. Yeah, I know they didn't know, but she looks the fucking same. But yeah, it's one of those shows that like I can see why people like it. It's just it lost me, and sometimes that's just how it be. I actually have Star Fox 2 on the mini SNES they came out with a few years ago. It actually comes with a version of it. I haven't booted it up, Chandler, but if you can track it down, it is out there, and you can play it. And the mini SNES is rad and portable. I take it on my work trips, mostly to play Mario RPG, which is one of my favorite games of all time. But I have not gotten around to Star Fox. Once again, Colin is out there judging me. JoJo would probably beat Transformers. Yeah, that is consistent with JoJo. Saitama from One Punch Man would beat Transformers. I think the real robot nerd questions would be like, does a Mazinger beat a Transformer? Does the Gurren Lagann beat a Transformer? But for those questions, they'd have to put Transformers into Super Robot Wars, which they haven't done, and I want them to. If you like robot anime and you haven't played Super Robot Wars, Super Robot Wars 30 is out on Steam. Well, the Wing Gundam, it depends on who's piloting it. If it is one of the non-Hero Yui characters, it could go either way. If Hero is piloting it, he will almost win and then decide to self-destruct anyways. But then bounce off the cockpit and across the desert and then live somehow. Because it's Gundam Wing and it's weird. I like Gundam Wing, but Hero is like, if your Hero Yui is like, cannot fulfill his promises when it comes to killing someone, whether it's himself or someone else, because he spends the whole show either trying to kill a specific person or kill himself, and he fails miserably every time. He's very bad at killing people for someone who's supposed to be an assassin. Big O was fucking wonderful. I loved Big O. As a big fan of Batman the Animated Series and Giant Robots, it was like, what if they made an anime just to like make Morgan watch it? And it's got a really good dub. It's a fucking weird ass anime. Big O is great. Norman is awesome. The fucking butler with the machine gun. I mean, are Transformers super robots? Probably, yeah. They're not in the Super Robot Wars video games because that's a licensing thing. I could get into it if people wanted me to explain the licensing of Super Robot Wars, but I have to imagine for most of you that would be very boring. Which of course means that I know all about it. I have not watched the Batman anime. That one missed me somehow. I wouldn't even know where to find it. I don't know where it came out. I saw like a screenshot of it at some point in the blurs of my memory, but yeah, it's out there somewhere hanging out.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. That's why I've just been listening.
Oh, okay. Do we want to get back to the show, or are you still working on stuff?
I'm sorry. I thought this was the show. Shit.
Oh, I thought you were working on stuff, so I was just sort of vibing with chat.
No, I'm sorry. I'm communicating with my kid. I'm
Oh, okay.
communicating with somebody else, and I was just letting you take it.
Oh,
Um,
sure. All right. I'll
but
you.
yeah, don't worry about me. I'm listening for sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I should really do that, Chandler. Binge the animated series after Kevin Conroy passed. If you haven't read it, last year's DC Pride special actually had a comic written by Kevin Conroy about how he became Batman and sort of his origin story. And holy shit, is it really good? Holy shit, is it really good? I cried. I have read it a couple of times since, and I cry every time. Um, and then knowing that that's I think the first comic he ever wrote, and then also the last because he's passed. Um, like it just hits so fucking hard. It's amazing. If you haven't read it, anyone out there, it was in DC's Pride 2022. I would track it down by whatever means necessary and read it because it is powerful. And shows the importance of representation, and how a gay man's experience made the perfect Batman. And I think that Kevin Conroy is for me, the iconic Batman. When I read comics, that's the voice I hear for Batman.
I mean, that is the voice of Batman. I mean, just listen to this AI thing here, right?
I know that many of you out there are struggling with anxiety. It's something that affects all of us at some point in our lives, and it can be.
Is that echoing, by the way?
I don't think so.
It wouldn't be on our end. It would just be for the audience.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, the AI thing is it's using his voice, and it sounds eerily like him. But
it's similar. I can tell it's a little flat.
It at least influenced him.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I didn't know until like last year.
Yeah.
And I feel like somebody pointed out that it's been known for a lot longer than that, which was like, oh, because I thought that it just came out. And
I think I first learned about it when he was in the CW shows playing like Bruce Wayne for like a time travel cameo thing.
Okay.
But that's still like only a couple of years. That's 3 years ago or whatever now. So like it was only recently that I learned about it too. But
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I have watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I have an appreciation for how fucking insane it is. But no, I don't watch it like regularly. Generally,
Same.
I'm not like a big, huge animation. And this is going to sound weird. Please don't take it as me. This is a thing with me personally. This is not a judgment on animation. There's animation that I think is fucking phenomenal, and I struggle to watch it. And
right.
I think my best guess is that it has something to do with autism. And like I think I have just developed over my life a lot more dependence on facial cues and stuff than I can get from most animation, right? Like,
yeah,
there's certain just emotional things and subtext that I apparently really lean on in live action and just talking to people that I don't even realize it, like it's a subconscious thing. But then whenever I watch animation, it's like there's a disconnect between, it can be very well performed and animated and music and everything can be there, but there's still some disconnect in the emotional
right
to me. But yeah, so that's why I
can see that. We were watching we did our sibling anime night recently, and my sister introduced us to an anime. I don't remember what it's called for the life of me. But the main character is deaf and mute. And the show uses liberal amounts of sign language. Most of the other characters will sign while they're talking. when there's a character like reading a proclamation because it's a fantasy show, there is someone standing next to them signing what they're saying. And I thought that was really, I had never seen anything like that before in animation. So I wish I knew what it was called, because I thought that was really neat. And as a complete tangent.
I have a question about JoJo though. So they know how gay it is, right?
They have to know how gay it is.
It is so gay, like in almost like, yeah, it has. They have to do it on purpose. Like there was one episode, I think I've seen maybe 2 episodes, and there was one where they're like, there's some characters fighting with these balls, and he's like talking about his balls swinging around, and like I don't remember what else, but it was like, okay, you guys are doing this on purpose, right? You know what I mean?
I have to imagine. I've only seen a little bit of JoJo's. It's not precisely my jam.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was one of the things that I appreciated about it, was just like, as long as they're doing this on purpose, I love this. Like the fact that they're just like, it's these big muscly fucking guys, but they're also just kind of queer.
Kind of very queer, yep. And I know a lot of queer folks who love JoJo because it is very queer. So, speaking of things that are queer but not incredibly queer, Transformers.
Robots in disguise.
Robots in disguise. They're in the closet. That's the disguise. Ha!
Okay, so that, yeah, I guess that's okay. That was the thing that I was thinking about. Now that I remember, is the inherent problematic nature of, Decepticons, like in that it's one thing, but it's going to trick you and turn into another thing, kind of thing. Like that's not good.
No, yeah.
allegory goes.
So I think with the Decepticons, they've actually like had in different shows different reasons why they're called the Decepticons. Because obviously, like, wait a minute, that sounds like the bad guys. Like, are we the baddies? Really? We're the Decepticons?
Yeah.
And I think in like I forget which, if it was Prime or something, but one of them is like, they called themselves that because of how Cybertronian society was like pretending to be egalitarian, but was really not. And so it's Decepticons because like you are being deceived and we're fighting against that deception.
Oh.
And then things went awry.
Okay.
I
mean, that's always kind of interesting whenever they try to flesh out, something there was no thought really put into it when it was originally created. So like,
yeah, there wasn't, right? Very, very obviously, like, these are the bad guy bots. They're called the Decepticons because deception is bad.
It's kind of like the Legion of Doom.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Okay, can we talk about the Legion of Doom for just a second?
Sure.
They talk about buying real estate in a swamp. But if that was the real estate in a swamp you were selling me, I would want to buy it. I want the Legion of Doom Darth Vader helmet thing. I fucking want that. I want to live there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, another example, by the way, is and they did correct it eventually. I want to look and see when they stopped using this, by the way, like the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Right. Yep.
Eventually, it just became the Brotherhood
of
Mutants, and that's like at some point did somebody go, "Hey, why are we evil?"
Yeah. Right.
Talk about problematic.
Fucking Quicksilver. Hey, Dad. Hey, Pop. Why are we the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants? That's a little on the nose.
Yeah, nope, not even. That's the same logic as the
Decepticons
thing. It's like my union is capitalism bad.
The Sinister
They're awesome. Sorry.
Right. Okay.
Sinister Six. I mean, I guess it is kind of like in the same way that Kaya Raychuk had Stochastic Terrorist in her profile on Twitter until she was mentioned with the Allen shooter.
Yep.
And then suddenly it's just not there anymore.
Went away for some weird reason.
So irony is only fun until it's a little bit too close because it's not ironic, bitch.
No, it's not. She's just a fucking hag.
Yeah, good to know. Good to be confirmed. Because I mean, honestly, the creators could say, "No, we didn't do that on purpose," and I'd be like, "You're full of shit." But I'm convinced of it anyway. All right, back to robots in disguise. I'm sorry.
Robots in disguise. No, we're good. We're just out here chatting. So previously on Forced Adversity, we were talking about why Transformers was sort of ripe in some ways for these clowns to make an issue out of. But that said, Transformers is also kind of bad for them to try and have this fight with. Because I think their metaphor of oh, you're forcing pronouns down kids' throats. Like like we talked about earlier, there's that a pretty convincing point to be made that like it's a fucking robot. Why do you need to call it a he or a she? Why would it feel like a he or a she? That's a little weird. Like, it makes sense that one of them is like, pass. I'm not either of those. That's weird. I'm gonna do my own thing. Thank you. But also, the Transformers community, in my personal experience, is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
They are largely rad people who do rad things. And I think that's kind of core to the fundamentals of Transformers. It's, the famous Optimus Prime quote, freedom is the right of all sentient beings. Like, that's sort of the message of the good guys, right? And I think that has continued to mean something in the fandom, and that the community is pretty inclusive, and that in addition to that, most of the fandom has been, neutral to positive on Earthspark. And because everyone in the fandom knew about Nightshade and that they were non-binary months ago, like it's a controversy now. So even people who think it's kind of cringy are like, well, this is old news. You're not telling us anything new. And like, this has been going on for months now and the world hasn't ended. You're doing sky is falling bullshit. Knock it off.
It kind of just reveals you said the Phantom Menace types are talking about it. I should look that up.
I saw one.
If they're only just talking about it now, they are giving themselves away big time.
They really are. Yeah.
Like just straight up Fox News driven fucking propaganda in fandom form.
Yeah. It's exactly that.
I should make note of that. We'll probably talk about that on the initiative this week. But yeah.
Let me do a quick.
And by the way, speaking to the thing from the discussion earlier, and this is, I can prove this. I can take a screenshot of it and I'll show it Wednesday in Discord before the conversation that Bob had today. That so much of it was about, you guys don't talk about the things you love. Bob and I agreed that about half of Wednesday's show this week is going to be just talking about why we love movies. And what, like, in terms of like, how we connect with them so much. Like, we love comics, we love music, but what is it about movies that is just like almost like this kind of sacred fucking religious experience that we have, and we want to talk about that. So that and the timestamp will show. This is before, we shouldn't have to defend ourselves nonetheless.
No.
But anyway.
And so I just linked you in Discord.
Thank you.
Ryan Kinnell has already made a video. There's a few other chuds the last couple of days, but it's all the last couple of days.
Interesting, Ryan Kinnell. Interesting move. Thank you for that, because I can use it.
There's one video I'm seeing that's older.
From him?
No, from some other people that are more Transformers centric. But they're not anyone I even.
Oh my god, I just read the top comment. Fucking stupid.
Oh no, I'm not even gonna click on it. Not
it's something that honestly I wouldn't know how to address it if it came up, but because it is, you know, more definitely your lane, maybe you can help me.
Sure, hit it.
Calling yourself non-binary categorizes everyone into binary or non-binary, creating a binary system which makes you binary again. It's so stupid I can't fucking crack it yet. So the binary.
So is 1.3 1 or 2?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah. Now I got it. Now. Okay, so he's saying that because the binary is male and female, not gender and no gender.
Right.
God, that's stupid.
He's yeah.
Course,
right.
His name is Ricardo Sanchez, so I mean, look, I like Rick and Morty and all, but like, I wouldn't do that. So, anyway,
Dane, I literally had to my face smash into the microphone and trying to face palm.
That's honestly the biggest one of the biggest challenges with dealing with a lot of this shit. As much as I do, is like sometimes it's so dumb,
so stupid,
that it can give them the appearance that they think they've like tricked you or like they've caught you. I got you. You can't. No, man. It's like I am struggling to operate on that fucking such a moronic level to address the words you just fucking spewed.
Yeah, Larry, to answer your question, mine would be Cyclonus and Soundwave.
I mean, I honestly don't know because I'm not like a huge. My Transformers fandom more or less stayed with my childhood.
That's cool. Yeah.
And I mean, I still have appreciation for them, and I've enjoyed listening to Morgan talk about their, fandom with Transformers. I enjoy listening to people talk about their fandom and things that I have no interest in. By the way, if you love something, and you're talking about it passionately and stuff, I love that. But yeah, I guess if I had to pick one, I would be lame and just say Optimus Prime.
Optimus Prime is rad.
Yeah. I mean, Bumblebee, maybe, definitely in the movies, Bumblebee was the coolest.
Yeah, they do a good job making Bumblebee cool. Especially the Bumblebee movie. I love that fucking movie.
Yes.
I have watched it so many times.
They did the Silent Bob gimmick with Bumblebee a couple of times where like he doesn't talk, but then whenever they need him to make some emotional statement, he can talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. Yep. Soundwave, you mentioned Soundwave earlier. Is that the one that used to be a cassette?
It's the tape deck that has the cassette bots that come out of it.
I thought that was the coolest shit as a kid. So
I love that. I was just like, I don't even care that it's the bad guy, right? The character is so cool and like the concept is so cool. I'm like, that fucking rocks. My spouse got me a Soundwave toy the other year, just like out of the blue, like, look what I got you. And I'm like, oh.
Is he like an MP3 net? What does he do?
So he's been a few different things since. I know in Transformers Prime, he's actually a drone, and he's got another drone that's Laserbeak that sort of detaches from him. So he's like a military drone, right?
Okay.
And then they went back to the cassette thing with Earthspark, because the context of the show, it's like, what if the show in the 80s, that war happened and then ended in peace? So it uses like updated versions of the G1 designs.
Oh. So what is the plot if the Decepticon, Decepticons aren't bad guys anymore, or is it just Megatron?
So Megatron is not a bad guy anymore. The war is over, and there are Decepticons and Autobots that are kind of just like in hiding now, that kind of want nothing to do with it. And so this brings us into my last sort of outline segment, which is the real reasons that Transformers Earthspark is actually anti-conservative, and it has nothing to do with my precious little cinnamon bot Nightshade. And that's that the show's kind of ACAB.
Ah.
So there is an organization made up of nominally Transformers and humans called Ghost. It's an acronym. I don't know what it is. But they are kind of portrayed like we have a good night, Lucifer. Like a militarized police force. They dress like cops. They're cops. They're like riot troopers. Look like riot troopers with faceless helmets and stuff. They drive SUVs with the radar dish and stuff. Like it, they're very much looking like our modern police do in a lot of ways, with some sci-fi elements. And this was to like the premise of this organization was to stop Transformers who were going to cause problems after the war was over.
Oh,
but now they're starting to do some shady shit and starting to leave their Autobot partners and their Decepticon partners out of the mix when they arrest these Transformers. And they're sort of letting humans who are experimenting on Transformers skate because the law doesn't apply equally for some weird reason.
that sounds like bigotry.
Yeah, and characters like Megatron are like, point of order. You know, I know bigotry being Megatron. This looks familiar.
Yeah, I know what's going on here. By the way, the acronym is Global Hazard and Ordnance Strike Team.
There you go.
And they were based in Witwicky, Pennsylvania, which I have to think is a reference to Sam Witwicky.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because Transformers loves its in references. There's actually a funny, like, how we got here, like, explaining the background, where they actually do, like, a retro animation using the old Gen 1 style on, like, a cassette tape that someone plays for someone in one of the first episodes. With the stilted animation and stuff. It's very, like, it's got a lot of references for older fans.
I kind of agree. I mean, like, the designs, just a still image of a lot of those designs is pretty dope. But once in movement, there's just way too many moving parts that they were just way too ready to show off how they could do that, basically. And it becomes kind of a shit show. And, you know, in that way, like, I think they did get a little bit better. That's the frustrating thing about the last
they got
couple of
better
movies.
as they went on.
I mean, the movies got much worse overall, but like the animation
plots got worse, but their ability to do the action got better over time. And I think even Transformers 3, where the first half of the movie is just humans complaining, the action set piece in Chicago at the end is really cool.
Yep, it is. So I mean, is there really any commentary beyond that happening, or just kind of like just that dynamic existing is kind of like the...
So the next one is a little more esoteric, but I think it's kind of the core of the issue in a real way. And I thought about this on my way home from Pathfinder today. So if my thought entirely isn't thought out, sorry, but work with me. So one of the big themes in the show, and not just for like Megatron, who obviously, you know, makes sense for this to be the theme, but for every character, is that hurting others is a choice. But also a choice you don't have to make. You
True.
don't have to hurt someone. You're not made to. You make that decision. And that you're responsible for the damage it caused. You have to own that. But also, it's the right thing to try and do better, to seek a second chance and make something come of that improves the world, rather than just double down on your bad decisions. And I think that is the core anti-conservative message as far as our American Conservative Party is.
Yeah.
And that, like, you don't have to choose to hurt anyone. You are making a choice. No one is making you do that. No one is making you, you know, cut off your kids for being trans. No one is making you harass the gas station clerk because they look like they might be Muslim. That's something you chose to do, and you can stop making that choice, and you can be a better neighbor. You can be a better family member.
I feel like, you know, this is not like making an excuse or anything for them, but like people tend to they can't, like, even if they, on some level they recognize that they've done something or do something that's harmful or bad or whatever, like that
right.
That some people really struggle to imagine who they could be beyond that, and
Yeah.
imagine that anybody wouldn't hate them.
Right. And
So it's almost like, well, this is what I've done. I've got to live with it. I might as well just keep doing it. That's what I am, you know.
So it's funny you mentioned that, because literally the last episode I watched, and this was like right as this controversy was breaking, is an episode that is exactly about that. Is literally there's a Decepticon hiding out, and he's trying to find a way to get away from it all, but he thinks he has to attack some people. He doesn't see a way out of it. And by the end of the episode, he learns his lesson and goes, no, I don't have to do this. I can be better than this. And it's a really good episode, like from a storytelling standpoint and from like a moral standpoint, right? Like that, you know, you can do better. And the show has a lot of sort of the main, it's a beat they've hit a few times now. And then like conversely, like someone does a bad thing and then doubles down and doubles down and doubles down, and it just keeps getting worse for them. And so like it really does a lot to show that, and different ways of showing it. And I think that is sort of the core. It's the core of the show, and I think it's why it wouldn't resonate with conservatives, because
because conservatives don't
like change.
They don't like accountability.
They really don't like.
when
Well,
you
they
think
like accountability for you,
well,
right? They don't like it for themselves.
When it comes to cancel culture, ultimately, cancel culture is just, we don't want to be accountable for saying things,
right?
You know, that, like, despite the fact that, like you said, they want to hold other people accountable. It's an inability to be introspective, which is necessary to make change. You know, and I'm speaking from personal experience. You know, like basically who I am now is in almost every way the exact opposite of who I used to be, and that was a conscious choice, because I used to not want to be accountable for shit. I used to, you know, not want to look inward for reasons why I am certain ways and stuff like that. And you know, so when I say I'm like, it's this inability to see past
It's
who
hard.
you are.
It
That's
takes work,
because I was there, and
Yeah.
and it just you kind of just resign yourself to a degree, and
there's
that's
a
why,
hopelessness to it.
you know, and that's why ultimately I'll sometimes call them cowards, because I was a coward until I wasn't anymore.
Yeah,
You know, I was a fucking coward to not go, you know, this is gonna hurt. It's gonna be fucking painful. People may never fucking accept you, but you have to fucking try. Right? Like, you have to try to be a better human being, you know, or robot or whatever.
Right. You've got a better sentient life form.
Yep.
And ultimately, I think you would find that in trying to be better, that even though it's been hard and unpleasant sometimes, that it's been ultimately worth it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's like, I wouldn't change. I mean, yeah, the hard part's over, essentially. I've seen so many benefits to it that there's literally no drawback. But I mean, there is that period where there's going to be a lot of doubt. There's going to be a lot of self-criticism. You know, it's going to be a lot of people doubting you. That's another fucking hard thing, is people not wanting to accept that you're actually trying. People love to undermine when someone's trying to do better about things. If you're in a kind of toxic environment, your family and so on, and then you say, I'm trying to not do this or that. Oh yeah, okay, sure. You know, like, you get a lot of that type of shit.
And I have said shit like that to people in my family who, you know, have a history of fucking up, and that wasn't right of me.
Yeah.
I was mad and upset, but I was wrong.
Yep. And yeah, that's the thing, is that we hurt people, and those people are entitled to that pain, and they're not beholden to forgive us if we've hurt them either. Like, we can ask for it. That's why it's called ask for forgiveness, not demand it and you get it, or you know. Right.
You're not owed it.
And I did that to a degree, like with anybody that would still even talk to me, you know. Like, I definitely had couple of girlfriends that, you know, wanted nothing to do with me. Again. So like, but yeah, generally, yeah, you can cut out the elements of your life if you have to, that are just going to not be supportive of change. Sometimes that's unfortunately necessary, but anyway.
Yeah. And I think those are all good things to learn, that we can improve ourselves, and that it is hard and it is work, but it is worth it.
It is worth it. I'm trying to remember the Alcoholics Anonymous thing, even though fuck Alcoholics Anonymous, but
Right.
they have a thing. It's like the changes. It's some rhymey thing. Something about it works if you work it. You're worth it, so work it, or something like that.
Okay. I don't know. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. At least I get the gist. Pass.
I mean, Dio is a god, fucking Holy Diver. Come on, Rainbow in the Dark. Kidding me? Oh, that's not what you're talking about.
I don't think that's what they're talking about. No.
Holy Diver. You can see his stripes, but no, he's clean.
I feel like I've given them an impression that I know more about some animes than I do.
Oh,
Yeah. When it comes to a lot of anime, and if you want to know my understanding of it, question 1, is it a robot show? If the answer is no, I got bad news for you. No, killing puppies is bad. Don't kill puppies.
it is. I mean, it's not a good. You're right. It's not a good sign, because like that is a very common thing with serial killers. Whenever they're children, they a lot of the most famous serial killers did some animal abuse.
Yeah, that's a recurring beat with real life awful people. You know what you can kick? Don't kick puppies, kick fascists.
Kick what?
Fascists.
Yeah, kick them in the head.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if there's an animal that's a fascist, you can kick them too, like a shark.
Mm-hmm.
If he's coming up on you, he's basically just a fascist swimming around. Kick him in the head. Fuck him.
Well, I don't know. If you're in the water, right? Like, so with sharks, right? Like, imagine this like strange life form comes into your world, right? And it doesn't look like anything else in your environment. And you are hungry, and this big intrusive meat sack just plops into your water, and you're hungry, right? You're a shark. You've got a calorie requirement you got to meet. And this weird non-Euclidean monster has fallen into your backyard. What else are you going to do?
Well, yeah, I guess. So I guess just let him eat you then. I don't know.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean,
No, I mean, I have heard people say that you can punch a shark in the head, and they will
Yeah.
they will go, oh fuck, and then go away for a minute,
Right.
so you have a chance to get away.
Then you have a chance, right? Because it's like, hey, don't eat me, man. And it's like, oh fuck, what the fuck? This thing punches me. How does that work?
Asking the hard questions. I don't know. If there's a puppy-shaped shark, I don't know what I would do.
It's confusing. Don't ask me hard questions.
Call the scientists, I guess, and be like, hey, you got to look at this.
I need a vet and a marine biologist.
Sharks are terrifying, though. Like, in a
They
lot of
really
ways,
are.
like, we are so lucky that they are in the ocean.
We really are.
Because, like, a xenomorph, for example, a xenomorph is just the land-dwelling version of a shark. Where
It really is, right? Like,
driven solely by destroying flesh, and well, I guess they don't consume it, xenos, but like still, yeah.
yeah.
Sky
They sort of do though, because they eat their way out, right? Like,
yeah, I guess so, yeah.
they're having a little nibble on the way out, right? Like, you're not just gonna spit that back up.
Xenomorphs are so cool.
IBO is really good. I have thoughts. I enjoy it for the most part. It's got some issues, but it's a good time. I would recommend it. Albert Wesker or M. Bison could redeem themselves and renounce their evil ways, or Big Boss.
Well, there's a lot of loaded terms in there, honestly.
Yeah.
So when we say, we talked about, when somebody was having this conversation, anyway, when you say redeem themselves, what does that mean to you? Like, you can't ever undo hurt that you've caused.
Could they turn, I guess, like, to reframe it, could they turn their lives around and become a benefit to the world they live in?
Anybody can.
Yeah, I would say that, like,
I mean, like, to some people, though, they never will.
Right,
redeemed,
yeah.
Right? Like, because it's kind of a subjective thing. And it goes back. Sorry.
Yeah. I think Albert Wesker has taken too many weird parasites and viruses into his body that, like, he's just kind of
not even
freaking
really
monster.
Albert Wesker anymore.
Right, like it's just sort of he's just sort of a monster guy in a Wesker suit. Like I don't know that what M Bison. I don't know enough to know. I think Big Boss could. I think Big Boss could like.
So, knowing Jeffrey's comment history and what they tend to comment about, I feel like this is coming from a place of like wanting to know the limits of what we think is
Someone who's redeemable,
right,
someone
and
who could turn their life around. Well,
yeah.
Like I think with like to because I'm not super familiar with M Bison's lore. I've played a lot of Street Fighter and I know nothing about the lore, but I know Resident Evil and I know Metal Gear to some extent.
Well, only thing I know about M Bison is this one awesome line from the Street Fighter movie.
Oh yeah,
where he says, like, because Chun Li, I think is like, you
yep.
killed my whole family, and he's like, you say I slaughtered your whole village or whatever. To me, that was just a Tuesday.
It was for me. It was Tuesday. Yeah,
he slaughtered a lot of people, a lot of time, and I mean, the chances of someone becoming, really, someone like that should just be locked away for life. Period.
Bury them in a dark hole.
At a certain point, I don't know what the threshold is, but at a certain point, someone has shown that they are going to do this thing, and there's no, going back for them.
Yeah.
And even if there's a chance of it, you don't want to risk it.
Right.
So like somebody like that, yeah, lock them up, throw away the key.
Like Albert Wesker has done a lot of shady shit to others and himself, and I don't think that his mind is capable of empathetic thought anymore if it ever was. So that would be sort of hard to do with how Resident Evil progresses. Like you would have to radically change the story, which is what they did in Transformers. That's that's sort of how Earthspark. The difference is that like you never get to the movie, right? Like he never dies and becomes Galvatron. He's just Megatron, and he has the realization one day that this is fucking stupid. Like you have to have that break from the plot, right? It can't play out the same way, because if it played out the same way, then they're just that character still. You would need to find a divergence point. Where with like Big Boss, I don't think Big Boss's motivations are even wrong necessarily. So like if he found a less overtly destructive way to go about them in dismantling the military industrial complex, then I mean maybe sure he could be a good guy.
Well, that's a conversation that we've had before. Or I don't know if it's necessarily you, but like me and Willow, because the Flag Smashers in Captain America and the Winter Soldier, like generally they weren't villains, and really the main one, I forget her name, the character's name, but she only became a villain when she first of all decided to start acting without consulting the collective, because everything we did prior to that was agreed upon, and those decisions were about hurting people, and not just not to say that just hurting anybody is bad, but like I mean, because there are reasons and justifications for hurting people in order to help or reduce harm for more people, right? But like she was hurting people just kind of indiscriminately,
right? She made that choice.
Yep. And still her justifications, like their motives were good, but it was just typically when somebody gets to that level, like it showed in that show. That's why I bring it up, is because it's such a good example. She had just been traumatized by the loss, I think it was her mother, as well as
mother figure,
as well as everything else, and it's like her judgment was askew,
right? Well,
it's kind of like Magneto. The reason he's able to be a hero sometimes is because everything he's always worked for it's good. Like he wants to prevent another fucking Holocaust. However, the inherent paradox there, the contradiction within him, is that was so traumatized by it, understandably so, that it makes him go harm other people in order to and anyway. Carly,
I think to use Chandler mentions Anakin Skywalker. I'm gonna talk about a bugbear of mine when it comes to redemption. I think it made sense that Darth Vader dies is part of his redemption in terms of that, how that story plays out. But I think retreading that in Rise of Skywalker, when Kylo dies, I think there's a much more interesting story to tell at this point, because we have so many. The bad guy learns the lesson and then croaks, right? That story is as old as dirt. We don't have a lot of the bad guy learned their lesson and now they're still alive.
They have to
Now
live with
what?
it. Yeah.
And I think that's a story we need told. And I think like there's been a lot of stories with Magneto that are like that. We're like,
Yep.
oh wow, yeah, I'm kind of a shitbag. What if I do something about that? How will people take that?
And yeah, and I mean, we kind of disagree a little bit, but I think I'm not objective at all about Rise of Skywalker. I agree with you. However, watching Rise of Skywalker, the only thing that satisfied me at the end of the movie was I was like, if this motherfucker doesn't die, because he murdered Han Solo,
Right.
He may redeem himself, but he better fucking. And that's my personal,
Right.
kind of feeling. And that's what I guess, Jeffrey, since you were the one that kind of asked the question that started this conversation, I would suggest, it's hard. It can be hard to distinguish your own personal feelings from the good of society what I mean? And what I mean by the good of society is how do we treat people who have made mistakes? And yes, like I said, there's definitely a threshold when, there's just, you don't want to risk letting this person out or giving them a chance, no matter how much they apologize or whatever. Don't know what that threshold is, but that's a conversation for society to have. The point of these types of stories, I think, is to get us to rethink not how we deal with the most egregious offenders of things, because that's not really I mean, that shouldn't be what we focus on so much, because people that have not really done anything that harms anybody get fucking locked away for decades. There are people that are just now getting out of prison because they got busted with some weed in the 80s. Not selling weed, just some weed.
Yeah.
And their lives are, and their families' lives, they're fucking shattered.
Yeah.
And so but we still think about things in terms of a criminal is a bad person, right? Like generally that's how a lot of people think about it. But when the laws that are written about criminal code are so fucking warped in some cases, and we're not talking about rape or murder, right? Like we're talking about other things. Then there's no rehabilitation, and it creates a perpetual cycle of you've thrown this, let's say a black man who got busted with weed in the 80s. And I know these exist because I used to write about this stuff a lot.
Right.
Job. Got busted in the 80s, gets out of prison today. Meanwhile, his family, who he just become a father maybe, or whatever, and his family's had to deal with that. The trauma reverberates throughout his family, throughout the community, throughout generations. And you've got his kids grow up and they don't have the guidance that they need or whatever, and they feel like the only option they have is to sell weed or something like that. And it just creates these ripple effects that in particular, that's a big part of why the black community in the US has problems, because of these fucking faults in the system.
Cycles. Yeah.
So it's really just about rethinking
what a bad person is, right? Like a criminal doesn't have to be a bad person, and a bad person isn't always a criminal.
Now there's a difference between society giving someone another chance and you personally forgiving someone, right? Like you don't have to. You just, if someone has fucked you over and everybody else seems cool with them, that's, it's probably sucks. But you have no obligation to also forgive them, and you shouldn't feel bad about harboring these feelings of because what they did affects you, and that's real.
Yeah. I also think in real life, we're talking about fictional characters, we're talking about effing Megatron, one of the most iconic villains in American pop culture, being redeemed as part of this story, or being a good guy effectively. That's good for a story. I don't know that applies to real life at that level, right? To use a person I like to dunk on, noted child genital enthusiast Matt Walsh.
Oh.
I don't know that he could work that shit out, right? I don't think he would want to. Right? Like there is he has fundamentally made a lot of choices that would make it very unlikely. And I don't think personally reaching out to him to be a better person is going to change his perspective. But I think what these stories let us do or help us understand can happen is the people in our own lives. Because that's really what matters more in a lot of ways. That's what we can do here on the ground. I can't tell someone, I can't tell Matt Walsh to not be a transphobe. But I can tell someone that they need to use the right pronouns for people I GM for. That their transphobia isn't welcome here. That they're complaining about the city is not welcome here. I can call them out on that and go, hey, that's not cool.
Can you explain what that means?
Okay, so there is the city is a euphemism for people of color who live in the city versus the people who don't live in air quotes the city. But because people don't want to appear racist, right? They talk about inner city people or people from the city causing
Urban.
problems. Urban, right. It's euphemisms to cover up for racism. But we know what they mean and they know what they mean. And just saying, hey, it's not cool. Because, like, for me personally, I grew up in the city, quote unquote, and I'm very pale. German. Like, but it's like, hey, you know, you hear all your life, oh, those people in the city. And I'm like, hey, I am a person for the city. What are you talking about? And, oh, not you. Well, then who? And you, like, when I was younger, having to work out what people mean when they said that was like, oh, it's just racism. They don't mean me. I'm white. I'm from the city. I grew up in the city, but I'm not from the city, quote unquote, because I'm the wrong shade. And so calling that out in life, you know, saying, hey, that's not okay. You don't have to be a dick about it. You can just say, hey, that's not cool, man. Because they know it's not cool. Otherwise, they would say what they mean, right? Like if they thought that it was perfectly acceptable to say, you know, black people cause all the crime, they would just say it. But they know it's not. So they have to use euphemisms to get around their own cognitive dissonance. And I think we need to call that out in our lives, whether it's race issues or gender issues or what have you. Because people, when bigots think you're a bigot, they will say things, they will speak candidly, and they will use those other words. Because they think that you agree with them, so they don't have a reason to conceal it. And when you let them know that's not okay in your life, that's either can make them uncomfortable and or help them realize, what am I on about, right? Why am I thinking this way? Why am I talking that way? You know, I've got a relative who's complained about drug addicts who spent jail and time for dealing coke, right? Like, you're complaining about the drug addicts, but you're not really complaining about the drug addicts because you're fine with that. And I don't have a problem with coke. Never done coke. But I don't really care. But getting, you know, so all of those euphemisms and calling that out, I think, lets people know that it's not a safe space to be a shitty person. Yes, Nope's got to make bigotry awkward to talk about again. Yes, that is. And not just awkward. I think that it should be awkward for them to be bigoted in public. but I would like them to realize why it's awkward, because I think they know they're wrong, right? That's why it's awkward. If they really believed what they thought they believed, they would just say it. I don't have to talk around being for LGBT rights because it's the right thing. Trans rights are human rights. I don't need a euphemism for that. But they need a euphemism for me. They have to call me a groomer. Because they can't just call me what I am. Because they know they're wrong. They need to lie. They need to make up something to lie to themselves first and then to others. I'm going to get off my soapbox. I realize I've been kind of ranting.
No, you're totally good. I'm just dealing with something kind of crazy right now.
Well, I'll keep ranting then. Hi.
Well, I mean, I can talk about it. I figure I will anyway, eventually Wednesday, but I don't want to derail what we're talking about. So,
okay. Well, I'll keep.
I guess it kind of relates. I don't know.
Oh, sure, hit it.
You're a Star Trek fan.
I am a Trekkie.
Do you know what I'm talking about when I say the word Axanar?
Yes.
How much do you know about Axanar?
I know some things.
Do you know about Alec Peters?
The name is ringing a bell, but not off the top of my head.
So he is the guy who spearheaded all that. He's the director, I guess, or something, I don't remember. I mean, I'd have to look and see exactly. He was a producer for sure.
Sure.
He's the guy who put all that together. It was his story. He saw himself in as a Kirk type character in the thing. He cast himself in it.
Right.
It's been a long time since I've looked into it because it's been a while since it mattered, but there is a lot of information out there about how big a piece of shit this guy is. He joined our Discord server today.
Whoa.
So about a few months ago, he sent an email to Turf Nation. This is how we found out Turf doesn't watch Star Trek. He said that, and I was like, yeah, he's the guy that, he's like, oh, I don't even know anything about Star Trek. And we were like, oh my God, you're out of the initiative. And then he begged. No, I'm kidding. That didn't happen. I mean, he did send him an email, and he was trying to appeal to him for whatever reason. And I know just enough about this guy to know that he is a fucking snake. He's a fucking greasy weasel, right? And that's not any kind of fucking. I don't. It's just about his behavior. Okay.
Right.
So don't take that as any kind of like pejorative about him as a whatever. And I know that he allegedly scammed a shitload of money.
Yep.
For production for Axanar that has never really been accounted for. He from memory, I think he bought a fucking really expensive car, and some other shit. And
there's
then
been a lot of allegations against the Axanar funding and where that money went. I didn't know the guy by name, but I.
Well, so what I'm reading right now is an article on axamonitor.com, which is a website. Look, he's got a website dedicated to watching what he does. Okay.
Oh my God.
And it chronicles the toxicity, the court cases. There's been a lot of court stuff going on. So in this article is an interview with Paul Jenkins, who was the director for Axanar, but he was fired. And in this article, it's from 2021. It's called "Why the Danger Posed by Peters is Worth a Court Battle." Fired Axanar director Paul Jenkins tackles societal danger posed by toxic fandom. So I'll just read a couple of little excerpts here of him describing it. So the interview says, "Why are you making this documentary?" Because he's making a documentary series. And he says, "I've been working in the entertainment industry for over 30 years. And in that time, I felt I had seen it all with regards to fan behavior. I've received death threats for comics I've written. And I think this must be the actual Paul Jenkins. Now that, because I was like, it's different Paul Jenkins than the comic book writer, right? Apparently not.
No.
I have seen fans physically attack creators on at least one occasion. I saw a creator get into a fist fight with a fan who had apparently said something particularly unpleasant. I've seen a blogger call into question the parentage of a well-known writer, all because that blogger didn't like a story the guy had written. And worst of all, the writer I happen to know was orphaned at a young age. It's getting out of control. We're witnessing a group of very loud, very manipulative people who see an opportunity to control other fans by weaponizing the very things that they love. In other words, we have seen people who have never created anything of note taking quote-unquote ownership of a piece of IP that they did not create and stating that they are the arbiters and protectors of the franchise. They curry favor with vulnerable fans who may not like the direction a favorite show or film series is taken, and then they use certain tried and tested techniques to essentially control those fans. It's one of the oldest and most predictable scams in the book because it creates cult-like conditions. Victims are constantly gaslighted so that they believe that they are being persecuted. Then they are offered protection by the very person who is controlling them. So we all know it is virtually impossible to find a way out of a cult. So I'm trying to get to where he's just more specific about. So during my time on Axanar as its director, I witnessed a near constant barrage of online agitation, anger, and hatred aimed at anyone who questioned the missing money or who Peters felt had upset or slighted him. On more than one occasion, I stepped in. I spoke a couple of times publicly about how I sympathized with the frustrated donors, and this put me at odds, although I could not have imagined the extent with Alec Peters. As the situation worsened, I learned incredibly of Peters' secret Facebook group called the Troll Hunters, whose entire existence seemed to revolve around discrediting and attacking detractors of Axanar. I made it clear I could not continue if these behaviors did not stop, and this, I feel, put Peters in a difficult position because it was now clear my company and I had witnessed a lot of things that he would have preferred we did not see. When we objected to a particularly egregious violation of normal protocols, Peter fired us from the project, made the spurious claim that I had done no work, and almost immediately threatened to sue us if we did not sign a separation agreement he had concocted. Just based on that, before we even get into any details, he's a big piece of shit. I'm sorry, I've just seen too much about Alec Peters to trust his word on anything. Now let me explain to you tell you what he said in the server.
I just
he sent me an email. He sent me an email a couple weeks ago. I guess he saw the mission statement, and this is a thing that happens often with being what I do what I do. It's just this is the first time it's kind of a well-known figure. People think I'm an idiot. Okay, people see me talking about anti-fandom or something, and they go, "Oh, I can, aim this guy at the people I don't like."
Mm-hmm.
They think I'm just some weapon to be fucking fired or something. No, I'm not a fucking moron, people. I get emails pretty regularly. Somebody say, "Hey, have you checked out this person? They're blah blah blah," and it's like basically a lot of them boil down to they said something mean, and like they want me. I guess they just think I'm against people saying mean things in general. I prefer if people didn't say mean things, but it's not all the same thing as like patterns of bigotry.
Right.
Anyway, so he sent me an email. I did not respond to it. I completely forgot about it, to be honest with you.
It happened.
But he joined. He says here in the member introductions, "Hey all, Alec Peters here. I'm a huge fan of all things geek." And I accidentally gave him an uninitiated. I'm going to take that roll away. I'm a huge fan of all things geek, Star Trek, Star Wars, MCU, DCU, gaming, huge 40K geek, and I made a famous Star Trek fan film called Axanar. Website. I have a serious hate group that has stalked me for 7 years, assaulted my girlfriend and myself in public. I had to get a protective order against their leader. And recently we got a death threat from one of the members in its Facebook hate group. Scary stuff. And look, I don't know if any of that is true or not. I don't know. It may be. And if anybody's been attacking them, attacked us, whatever, that's fucked up. He doesn't deserve it. Nobody does. But then he goes on to say, "I am sick of all the anti-fandom bullshit and anyone who uses woke as a pejorative. I have lots of female, gay, and trans friends. I am woke myself." Okay. Look, people using woke as a pejorative is stupid and bad.
Yeah.
However, people don't generally use it in the other way.
Maybe ironically.
Ironically, yeah. When was the last time anybody's heard anybody just like unironically be like, "No, man, I'm woke. I don't put up with that shit." Like, without a wink and a nod kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyone who uses, yeah. So, in fact, so was Jesus. So I am in good company. That being said, I am friendly with a couple of the anti-fandom group. But every time I see one of their videos about the latest grievance, I roll my eyes. I'm here for positivity, to share my love for all things geek and make new friends. YouTube channel. And then, yeah, apparently Organized Chaos thought that was a good thing too. I'm going to go ahead and let him know about that. This guy is a huge scumbag, man. Just on the grounds of the money on its own, and the fact that he's been unaccountable for it, as far as I know. I will know more Wednesday. We'll definitely talk about it Wednesday, and I'll have all the facts at hand to support the fact that he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's I know Axanar, the Kickstarter for it got Paramount involved because it's like, okay, well, making fan films is fine, but you can't make any money off of it. Well, when you kickstart something, it's a little hard to keep track of where all that money goes, because it's not like you have a set budget, right? Like, you just have all this big pile of money, right? And then you're going to pay people, you're going to pay a director, and you're paying actors and stuff. And now it's not a fan film, it's a film.
So look, I think that the very specific rules that Paramount
has
put out, they're a little bit restrictive.
They are, I would agree.
I think that people should be able to make a fan film with, without all those. There's really specific shit. Then it's definitely a legalese type thing where clearly some attorneys looked at it, IP attorneys, and that was passed down. I will advocate against a lot of those restrictions, along with anybody, basically.
Right.
But when it comes to the amount of money that Axanar was pulling in, and then you start to see that they're advertising it, and then they're going to sell it and all this stuff, and it's like, that's not a fan film anymore, man.
No.
You're just kind of, there has to be a line somewhere. Otherwise, what? Either there's a line or IP doesn't exist. You have to kind of pick one.
That there's the appearance of bad behavior.
Yeah.
And it hasn't really been explained. And I feel like if I am that guy, and I'm not, I would just kind of go about my life. I would want to move on, right? Like, regardless of whether or not I stole the money. Like, if I put myself in bad guy brain and I go, I raised all this money to make this movie. We couldn't make it, so I pocketed the money and I got a new car and whatever. I would literally want nothing to do with Star Trek ever again, because people will move on, just because that's how life works. Time is finite and we all have things to do. And I would just take the money and run, as they say, as the song goes. If I was not a scumbag and just like shit went awry, we didn't keep good track of the finances, we got sued by Paramount, that we had to pay for a lawyer out of that money, and just like things got out of control, well, I would understand that I have a bad name in the community, and it would be best to just keep my distance, right? I don't want to... The apple cart is already upset. No good is had by me involving myself with this drama. I would like to do something else with my time in life. That's how I would do it. I can't speak for this person. I don't know them. I don't know. I couldn't even remember their name when you brought it up. As soon as you said, oh, they're the Axanar guy, I'm like, oh, that guy. I know the Axanar guy, but I don't know anything about him personally. But I think that if what he is saying is true, the thing he should be doing is not announcing himself in a server with a paragraph of explanation, including the link to his website and his YouTube channel. That is not an introduction. That is an advertisement. I don't go around and go, hi, I'm Morgan. You can find me on the Force Adversity podcast on Actual Fandom on YouTube and post link. That's not how I introduce myself to people. Right? Like, that's like in your day-to-day life, do you go, I'm Dane, the Actual Fandom guy? You can find me here. No, that's weird, right? That's weird. If I'm wrong, chat, let me know. But I feel like it, even if he has the best of intentions, it still feels weird.
Yeah, it's.
Like,
I mean, I'm reading another source now at this point, and it's more of the same. Like it's more details. Like I was really just trying to find a list of things. That seems to be difficult in the moment, but
yeah,
there's plenty of stuff. As of 2021 anyway, there were several lawsuits, legal stuff that had not been accounted for or resolved. And as here's more with Paul Jenkins and Robert Meyer Burnett, by the way, was the second director attached to Axanar. That was second out of 3 that I can see. Man, it's a whole mess. And basically everything that I'm seeing is saying that there's a lot of the stuff that you see out of Comicsgate and Fandom Menace is there in the Axanar group, and that how they they're grifting, and they have what seems to be a narcissist at the head of the thing who is showing up in my fucking community trying to sanitize his image, I guess, and gain new marks. I don't know what he's doing, but he can fuck off, and I'm officially at this very moment blocking him from the channel.
Ban. To answer Jeffrey Brown's question, I think Tim Pool doesn't believe in consequences for Tim Pool, so he would absolutely run away if the fuzz was coming for him. He will. I mean, because he could just move his operation to Russia or whatever, and they'll gladly have him. Their propaganda agencies would love to have him over there, so they'll relocate him in a heartbeat.
Sorry, I'm really. You know what, guys? Please thank Morgan for having a show today, because I clearly have other stuff that's just been, distracting me and going on. And I appreciate Morgan for being a champion and patient with me.
Hey, it's a rough. Today is a rough day on a good day, and it was not a good day for you. So I am happy to be here to support. I'm happy to talk about, to do forced adversity and to have a live one, right? We got a live one. We got it on the hook. We got to talk about it here at, day 3 of this controversy. I mean, it's a manufactured controversy. It's all bullshit. You're welcome, Nope. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm happy to chat with all of you. So yeah, it's been real. It's been fun. I'm happy to, all that stuff. I'm rambling.
Yep. Yeah, folks. Thank you, and tell your mothers you love them. You know what I mean? Yes. Coming from me, all I can say is you may have differences. You may even not like the bitch or something, but value the time that you have, because that's the thing that comes to mind for me every Mother's Day and on her birthday too. Is just I just wish I could have a minute to talk to her,
dude.
So appreciate, unless somebody's just she's a harmful, toxic person who's bad for you. Yeah, fuck that bitch. But nonetheless, value the people that you love and love you. Don't buy into Axanar bullshit.
It seems like bullshit. But not to call you out about the topic of today's conversation. They, them.
Yeah, they, them, but I know that Morgan appreciates that.
I'm any all, but I hear the two you used at work a lot, so change it.
Yeah, I forget about any all, and so I just, it kind of, because whenever someone says any all, I tend to default to they, them, and then for me that makes it to where any all doesn't exist almost in my mind.
That's fair. Yeah.
It's but I will, you tell me what to call you, and I'll call
you. All of them are perfectly fine, but they, them is nice. I got a miss the other day at the McDonald's drive-thru. That was really nice.
Well, I guess I'm going to call you one of these newfangled pronouns that Fox knew. What's one of those new ones? Smuggler,
I have a buddy who will call me not only the ones we're all used to, but a bunch of the neo pronouns, just to see if I'm paying attention, to see if they know I'm talking about me.
Yeah. I mean,
I catch them most of the time just because it's a word I don't know. I'm like, oh, you're talking about me. I get it.
I believe Axanar is dead, honestly.
I believe it is, yes. I believe Paramount said, we have more money than God, and you do not.
Yeah. And there
And
was
yes,
that
that's
other-
a problem that I don't like, but it do be like that sometimes.
It do be. Yeah, just Alec Peters is an opportunist, grifter, and probably, you know, like a lot of these guys end up being to me just a narcissist in the most, you know, medical sense.
Yeah, I'm not canceling Button. Button is rad. They've been great in chat. He's been great in chat. I don't know your pronouns, Button. Feel free to share.
Yeah, I mean, imagine that. Imagine that the right makes a crazy straw man out of stuff that isn't such a big deal.
So this is actually even before my egg cracked, because I work in IT for my day job, and I've worked with overseas teams, and I don't recognize everyone's like gender by their name, and not just because they're foreign names necessarily, but there are plenty of androgynous names in English or used in America. So I just like got used to either just defaulting to they them or just asking, because you're in a text chat and you don't know. So like it is actually like a useful professional habit to ask in an online world because we don't know. Then it's not a political thing. It's literally just like doing business. We're doing capitalism here. Well, there at work, but you know how it goes.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, look,
Go ahead.
I'm the right likes to make a straw man out of this whole pronoun thing, and are there people who might like on Twitter or something, and I've definitely seen them, they do exist, where they'll like act like you just sacrificed a baby to Satan if you accidentally use the wrong pronoun or something. Yeah, you know, but
Maybe.
there's that type of person on Twitter in every way.
Every
where they're,
way,
like,
yeah.
gonna act a crazy fool over anything. The like just in real world, generally non-binary people, trans people, as long as you're trying,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
they're generally pretty cool with it.
yeah.
I mean, not cool with it, but I mean, like, they are willing to, like, my kid, for example, 15 years old. 16. And you know, whenever they came out as non-binary, I was like, look, I no problem with that. I support that. Just please understand that I've been calling you a certain thing for, you know, I think they were 14 at that point. And I was like, so if I fuck up, please know that it's not on purpose. No, that's fine.
Right.
And generally that's, you know, we're all just doing our best here. Yeah.
And I thank you, Button, and thank you, Button. And I did something I should have done, which I should have put them in my little thing.
True. Yeah. Well, you know what? That's my thing too. I did add our pronouns to the intro, which we didn't play today.
No.
But yeah, we will remember that next time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's a good thing to go out on.
Absolutely.